Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Let's Get Deep Bible Study. I always say I'm excited for every Friday, but let's get right into it. Last week, we talked about the tomfoolery of the golden calf and how leadership is the main responsible party for allowing such atrocities. We talked about how compromising and having this desire to appease the people will lead you into rebellion, will lead you into creating systems of counterfeit worship. Although it looks holy, although it looks pleasing, although it sounds beautiful, singing and dancing, a lot of times what we see in assemblies or church services or even Shabbat assemblies is this look of holiness and worship, but it is without obedience. It is without reverence to Yah. And we talked about the creation of a feast day and how that's no different from Easter and how that's no different from Christmas and how that's no different from all the other man-made traditions and holidays that we have, because it does the same thing that Aaron did with the golden calf. You took aspects of the Elohim who brought you out of Egypt, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but then you created another day attached to falsehood so that you could appease your own desires to serve God any way that you desired. But Yah has been very clear. He's given us his feast days. He's given us his appointed times. He's told us how to honor him. And if we love him, we will keep his commandments. And so this next part, we're going to talk about how Yah continued with us even after betrayal. Because at the end of last week, we talked about after Israel's betrayal of what happened with the golden calf, there was a distance that Yah had to put between himself and his people. And we're going to get into that about moving forward or continuing after this betrayal. And obviously we're talking about Israel and the Most High, but as y'all know, I always give practical advice on how Yah's instructions is for us as a whole, and how Yah has also called us to operate when there may be betrayals or offenses, and you want to still stay with this person, this family member, these friends, but there has to be a distance for a season to see, like, do they want to change? And so we're gonna cover all that tonight. We're gonna see Yah's character and how I say all the time, Yah has feelings. Our Elohim has feelings. We're made in his image. You have feelings. You get offended. Your feelings get hurt. You feel betrayal. You feel anger. You feel jealousy. Yah does too. The only reason you can feel those things is because Yah created you to feel. And so we're going to see Yah's character and how he handles betrayal, hurt, lack of intimacy from the one that he desires to cover and to love, and it's not being reciprocated from him. And so I'm excited about this. I hope you're excited about this. My camera's a little blurry. Let me try to fix it. Okay. All right. So starting off with Exodus 33, verse 1. Then Yahuah said to Moses, leave this place, you and the people you brought up out of Egypt. That's that language again, that distance. He said, the people you brought up, not me. He's not saying the people I brought up. He still has that distance language of, these are your people, Moses, the people that you brought up out of Egypt. So we still see that there's this sting of like, I don't even think that these are my people anymore because of how they've been acting. He says, go to the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I will send an angel before you and drive out the Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Go up to the land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go with you because you are a stiff-necked people and I might destroy you on the way. And I was like, oh. So when the people heard all this distressing words, they began to mourn, and no one put on ornaments. For Yahuah had said to Moses, tell the Israelites, you are a stiff-necked people. If I were to go with you even for a moment, I might destroy you. Now take off your ornaments, and I will decide what to do with you. So the Israelites stripped off their ornaments at Mount Hebron. All right, so I was reading now. I was like, "Ooh, Yah is like, I need some distance because y'all have really, really hurt my feelings." I'm pretty sure he used more choice words than that, but I'm saying hurt my feelings. And so we get into this understanding that Yah is saying, "I'm still gonna bless you. I'm still gonna honor my covenant promise. Just because you broke covenant, I'm not gonna break covenant. So I'm still gonna honor the promise that I made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, this is not about you. This is about me being a covenant Elohim who keeps promises to the to the third and fourth and fifth generation of those who love me. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob loved Yah. They served Yah. They feared Yah. So they are only reaping the benefit of this land flowing with milk and honey in the fact that he's still going to go before them and get rid of all their enemies is solely on the favor of those before them. So he called him stiff-necked. We see that a lot. Stiff-necked, hard, cruel, severe, obstinate, fierce. There's an intensity in stiff-neckedness. It's almost like, I don't know if you ever talked to someone and you felt like the stiff-necked presence on them. It's like it goes beyond like earthly words of stubborn. Like, it's honestly just like a stiff-necked person could see their destruction in front of them, and you could tell them not to go, and just because you said it, they'll still just willingly go to their death, because that's how stubborn and prideful they are in their like obstinance or their rebellion. It's crazy to see. It's crazy to be in the presence of something like that. But it's just like it's really hard. It's cruel, and if someone has a stiff neck and they I don't know if you try to forcibly turn their head, I think you could honestly like rip or tear muscle. So it's just like literally stiff-neckedness harms the person that's operating in this in stiffness. So I feel like that's a dub, but literally. I want to show this. So there's a picture of undeserved grace, right? That's what I named this first portion. Receiving his undeserved mercy, but not his full presence. What we see here is this powerful picture of undeserved grace and mercy. Yahuah still allows Israel to continue forward to the promised land. They're still going to experience the land of milk and honey. The promise is given to their fathers, the outward blessings of covenant. Yet, at the same time, he's not pleased with them. He's not pleased. He was not pleased with us. This reveals and reminds us that Yahuah can still honor his covenant promises while also being displeased with the condition of his people. Because of his compassion and faithfulness, he does not give us what we deserve. And Latanya says this all the time. He is such a good father that he does not he doesn't give us what we deserve. Because if he gave us what we deserved, if he would have gave them what they deserved, they would have all been gone off the face of the earth, and it would have just been Moses standing there with him. That is what they deserved after the level of offense that was committed with the golden calf at the bottom of the mountain. But we also see that Yah establishes distance. I will not go up with thee. And he says, I'm put like, why? Because of our stiff-neckedness. There is still, Yah still, because he's all-knowing, he understood there was still some resistance, there was still some rebellion in the hearts of the people. After seeing all the things, the 3,000 men that died because of what happened, and the plague that went out amongst the camp, there was still a resistance and a desire for rebellion that were in the people's hearts. So he's saying, like, you think that after all that, like, we ended 34 where it says like all the people were like mourning, and Moses like, I'm gonna atone for your sins, and like, wait here, and I'm gonna go back and talk to Yah. After all of that, Yah's like, their hearts are still rebellious, so I cannot go with you, because holiness cannot dwell comfortably in the midst of unrepentant rebellion. And there are seasons in our life, the longer we walk with Yah, that we ourselves begin to also feel this, right? We'll be in spaces that we used to be in. We used to be able to be fine around like debauchery and like just open rebellion. And the closer we get to Yah, the one we're just like, I don't even want to be around. I can't be around this environment anymore. It grieves me. It angers me. It irritates me. It saddens me that because I'm operating as a child of the Most High Yah, I'm operating in the holiness that he has been instilling in me, and that he has been sharpening in me, I cannot comfortably sit around people who want to actively operate in rebellion. All right. He tells them, I can't go with you, because his presence in that condition, he would consume us. Because Yah is a just Elohim, he has to judge righteously. And he's saying, if you are so set on wanting to operate in rebellion, I have to consume it. I have to remove sin from the camp, which is why the whole what happened last week with the men put your your spears to your side and go out through the camp and kill those who are still actively like celebrating this golden calf. we talked about this before, there comes a season in everyone's life where y'all saying, choose me. If you choose me, then you have life, you have peace, you have prosperity. But you have to make a choice between me and your family and your friends and those who are dwelling in sin. Again, who is your mother, your brother, your sister, those who do the will of the Father. And so there becomes this visceral, uncomfortable feeling that I know me personally, I get sometimes if I'm in a space and people know better, but they just choose to not do better, or they're just very casual with claiming holiness while operating in like fornication and adultery and other things like that. And it's just like, you can't be around stuff like that for too long until, because y'all's gonna be like, now you gotta say something. Because then we get into that point of just like, if I'm gonna be here, I have to say something. But if you don't want me to say nothing, then I can't be here. And it's just like, you don't get to just sin comfortably around me and feel like, oh, everything's fine, everything's cool. No, I'm uncomfortable, and I need to let you know why I'm uncomfortable, because it's thus says the Most High Yah. I'm never going to tell you I'm uncomfortable because of something righteous. I'm going to say, hey, do you know, or do you understand that Yah has more for you? That there is healing for you, but you're gonna have to choose. Like, it becomes like a now we're ministering, which we should always be ministering, but it's just like, you cannot sit in a place that is full of wickedness and be comfortable. If you are very comfortable just sitting in wickedness and watching it as it happens around you, and you have no kind of righteous indignation, I would take that up with the Father and ask him, why am I not repulsed by what he hates? Why do I not hate what he hates and love what he loves? So that's just from thoughts for your own personal, life and situations. Thoughts, comments, commentary before we move forward. Questions? Okay. All right. So boundaries for reconciliation after betrayal. So Exodus 33 shows us something that many people ignore. Reconciliation has boundaries. After betrayal, relationship does not simply return to normal or your old normal. There is mercy, but there's also distance, process, and accountability. We see several boundaries established in Exodus 33. So, and Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp. So because of the thing that had been done, Yah literally separates from Israel. He literally, we've talked about like being in the camp is the most beautiful thing, being in the courts of Yah. But if the courts of Yah are filled with rebellion, Yah will remove himself from the very courts that he established. Which is like, he's like, I got to get away from y'all to save your life, basically. So he's like, I'm going to have Moses pitch a tabernacle away from y'all, afar off from y'all, and call it the tabernacle of the congregation. Remember, Moses just got all the instructions for the tabernacle that the people were supposed to help construct, but because of the atrocity and the rebellion and the idol worship that they just did down at the mountain, now y'all's telling Moses, you're gonna make it, it's gonna be just you in this tabernacle. It's gonna be far away from the people. There needs to be some distance. And Yahuah spoke unto Moses face to face. So we see everyone else has distance. Moses gets intimacy, face to face. And as a man speaketh to his friend, like literally, he's like, I'm speaking with you. You're my servant. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Yahusha, son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. So we see two people here who get to stay in the presence of Yah. So boundary number 1, limited access to his presence. Moses and Yahusha, Joshua son of Nun, are the only ones who consistently remain near Yah's presence. Not everyone has access. Because we talked about last week, your sin, your rebellion creates a gaping distance between you and the Most High. That is a fact. Even though they still had his blessing, they still had his mercy, they still had his love, his compassion, they did not have the intimacy. And we have to look at our own lives, at our own communities, our own congregations. I know me personally, I could be in religious spaces or even like Shabbat assemblies, and it's just like we could do all this singing, this dancing, but you can sometimes feel that there's a lack of intimacy in some communities. And it's because like I can't see the secret sins of people, but Yah does, and sometimes you can feel that within certain spaces where it's just like there's a lack. Me and my brother talk about it with music a lot of time, with truth music. I personally can feel the difference when someone has a intimate relationship with Yah, where it's beyond talking about and singing about keeping the commandments and honoring the Sabbath. When it goes deeper into this person consecrated themselves in the process of making this music. They have a close, intimate relationship with Yah that I can feel through the ministry of the music. Not just about what they're talking about that aligns with Torah obedience, but it aligns with the intimacy that you learn with walking in Yah's commandments, like truly, not just for outward display, but for true sanctification in your life. There are a few artists that I listen to them to say, yep, this person has been in that secret place. And there's some people, they just make good music. I'll put it on when I were to work out, but it's not anything that goes past like surface level talking about the commandments, you know? And I think that's what we're seeing here, this distance or this separation between Moses and Yahushua, son of Nun, versus the rest of the people. Because again, access is tied to faithfulness and consecration. Faithfulness and consecration. Access and intimacy are always tied to your faithfulness and your consecration. Remember, one of the fruits of the Spirit is faithfulness. If you have His Spirit, you will be faithful to the things that Yah has called you to do and to operate in. Can't get around that. Your love, your joy, your peace, your faithfulness. The rest of Israel were operating in infidelity, which is unfaithfulness. They decided to erect another god and create another feast day, and they decided to become unfaithful to the thing that Yah had just commanded them to do within their covenant relationship with Him. Part 2, separation of the tabernacle. Yahuwah's instructions that the tent of meeting be placed outside of the camp. His presence is no longer dwelling in the midst of the people. That's heartbreaking. That's that, okay, I just started watching anime lately. My brothers have always been to anime, and I've been just like, oh, that looks, I don't want to watch that mess. But I started watching this one anime, it was about like vampires or something. Castlevania? I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's a scene where there's this Catholic church and this demon walks in, and the priest is sitting at the podium, and then like the place is empty, and the priest says to the demon, like, you can't be here, this is the house of God. And then the demon says to the priest, God is not here, this is an empty box. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if that's not a word about Yah said, I have removed my presence from the congregation of the people, I'm not there. You have operated in so much sin and wickedness and rebellion that you are singing and dancing and praising and preaching, and I'm not even there. It's literally a hollow box. And I don't know, that was some years ago, and I was like, you know, I was already like walking in my word and like really studying, and so that just really resonated in that season. But it still resonates now that like you can have all the frills, you can have the Shabbat assembly, you can have the Sunday congregation, whatever way that you worship in this season where Yah has called you to community. If the people are operating in disobedience and dysfunction, Yah's presence has separated from that place. Not that He's separated from you, but from the place as a whole. Yeah, because Yah was with Moses, Yah's with Yahushua. Their presence isn't left, and the people still are receiving the blessing, the covering, the benefits of covenant without Yah's presence. That is a dangerous place, and that's the perfect place for deception. Okay, His presence is no longer dwelling in the midst of the people. Why? Because the people are still operating in stiff-necked rebellion, and there is still judgment pending. Because there was a portion in 33, okay, right here, is it verse 5? Now take off your ornaments, and I will decide what to do with you. So Yah is still impending judgment, impending consequences of how He's going to handle Israel's injustice, Israel's infidelity, Israel's betrayal, Israel's idolatry, whatever you want to label it, Israel's sin. Yah is still deciding how He's going to handle judging this people. Because again, remember, He wants to take everybody out. That 3,000 that died wasn't nothing compared to killing the whole nation. So there's a pending judgment, and I thought this was interesting too. That Okay, this is me just kind of spitballing here. Obviously, holiness requires separation from defilement. We know that. We talk about that all the time here. This is something that is foundational to understanding walking in the narrow path with the faith of Hamashiach. You have to separate from defilement in order to have Yah's presence in your life, like fully, not partially, but fully. But this conversation about, or this part about judgment pending, for me in this season, I was like, yeah, our life in the living, us being able to breathe and wake up every day, we are living in a pending judgment consistently, right? Like, especially for those who are operating in sin and defilement, like Yah is waiting. He is, this time that we have on this earth that we're breathing and living is grace every single day. You have a whole lifetime of deciding how your judgment's gonna go. Your judgment is going to be on, well done, my good and faithful servant, or depart from me, I never knew you. Yah, in this pending season of us living and breathing, that is our pending season. He said he's going to, did you receive the blood of Hamashiach? Did you accept the Passover lamb? Did you accept that sacrifice? And after you received that sacrifice, did you operate like you had it? I know that really like sit with me. Like, I was like, judgment pending. Like, our life is literally like, every time we have breath in our lungs, it is the opportunity for you to get it right. It's an opportunity for you to choose life and not death. Okay, Moses as the mediator. So Moses is the favorite mediator. He stands between Yahuah and Israel. He is the reason the people are not consumed. Without a mediator, their condition would have led to destruction. We understand this. We know this. This has not changed. Without Yahusha, our condition would have led to our destruction. And a lot of times we stop there. Hallelujah. Praise Yah for Yahusha. We have an intercessor. Yes. However, if you don't honor the mediator and you don't improve your condition, or you don't change your condition, you could still lead yourself into destruction. Does that make sense? It's like, how do you go on willfully sinning once you receive the knowledge of truth? There is no longer a sacrifice for that. So that's this understanding of like, you have a mediator. Without your mediator, you would be destroyed. That's what we praise Yah for, his salvation. Praise Yah for his salvation through Yahusha. That's why we are saved, but there is still a pending judgment on, did you actually receive the mediator? Did you actually receive Yahusha for real? Because if you actually received him, you would be taught by him. You would learn from him because he is the high priest. He would correct your sins. He would let you know the things that you need to separate from and that you need to remove out of your life and the things that you need to repent from. But if you don't actually receive the mediator, then you wouldn't get taught by the mediator. Because Moses, Yah also told the people, and teach my people my ways. Teach them my ways. Teach them right and wrong, what's holy, what's profane. That is part of the mediator's job description. If we say he's the good teacher, he's the good shepherd, he's not just your intercessor. He's not just the one that saved you from destruction. He's also supposed to be teaching you how to operate outside of your condition of sin and in the condition of holiness. Number 4, the angel is sent instead of his direct presence. So Yah sends his messenger, his Malachim, instead of himself going before. And I was like, that's Yahusha too. Yahusha is the messenger, the embodiment, the spirit of Yah that goes before us. Yahusha literally stands and goes before us, so the Father sees him and not me. So the Father sees him and not you. He goes before us because Yah was like, I can't deal with these people because I will literally destroy them. And we know that's true because if you read the prophets, Yah is constantly telling the people, I have turned my face from you. I have turned my back and not the front. I can't even look at y'all. So all the things that are happening to you is because I'm not looking at you no more. You don't have my presence no more. You don't have my favor no more. I can't deal with you. So because Yah loves us so much, he sent himself in the vessel of a man so that he could still go before us and save us. Like, but he's just like, me doing it from here omnipotent wise, like I can't handle y'all like that no more. Y'all have done too much. Y'all have lifted up your skirt to every passerby. I can't deal with you because I would literally destroy all of y'all. But because he keeps reminding us, in every prophet, Yah reminds the people, because of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I'm going to spare some of y'all. a third to death, a third to the third to famine, and a third is gonna go into captivity, and I'm gonna save them for a time to come, and they're gonna be like, they're gonna remember themselves in the land of their like all that stuff, right? Y'all, like the only reason I didn't kill off all of y'all is because of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is a y'all constantly brings up our righteous forefathers as a reminder that the only reason, like, they were your intercessors, honestly, before Yahushua stepped on the scene. Okay, it was Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, righteous prophets, righteous priests, righteous kings every now and again, and y'all just like, okay, I see it's a few of y'all that's really about me. Okay, I ain't gonna kill all of y'all. It's against like that Abraham, like, y'all, will you destroy a whole city just for like what if there's 10 holy? What if there's 5 holy? He's like, okay, well, because there's always been a few, there's been a handful of holy people. There's been a remnant. There's always been a remnant of the righteous within Israel. And that is why Yah has never destroyed everybody. Moses was a righteous remnant. The reason we didn't get destroyed was because of Moses. And so we see this thing repeat over and over again. The reason why Noah and his 3 sons and their wives were alive was because of Noah. Oh, a righteous child of the Most High, being an intercessor, being someone say, hey, I'm building this ark, you gonna get on? And a few people listened, and they were spared. And so this is just a reoccurring theme, and I just get excited when I see these patterns over and over and over again. And I hope that you see them and you learn, you see Yah's character and how he operates, how he's consistently operated in compassion and mercy that we did not deserve. So the angel sent instead of his direct presence. Yahuwah says, I will send a Malachim, or a messenger, before you. Instead of his direct presence going with him, he sends a messenger. This is both mercy and distance. Mercy because we're still being led, but distance because the sin, or our sin, or their sin, disrupts intimacy. Thoughts, questions, comments? Okay, the messenger, the buffer of mercy. And if you're not seeing the picture of Yahushua, I don't know how other way to paint, but I was just like making these notes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes, like he's our buffer, he's the mediator, he's our defense attorney, like he's literally all the things. So the angel, or the Malachim, our messenger, that word angel in Hebrew is malach, which internalizes to or translates to messenger, functions as a buffer between the holy Elohim and a rebellious people. This reflects the role of Yahushua. He stands in the middle. He is the in-between. Through him, we are still led. We still experience favor. We are still given time to repent. We are not immediately consumed. This is mercy, but it also reminds us of something weighty. There is still a gap caused by sin. The goal is not just guidance. The goal is restored relationship. Renewed covenant, restored covenant, restoration. All right, now this part right here, the removal of the ornaments. So therefore now put off the ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do with thee. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Hebron. So Yahuwah commands the people to remove their ornaments. So they came out of Egypt with all their gold, their jewelry, their festive gowns. They was down there celebrating. They was probably all dolled up. They probably looked amazing. And y'all was like, this is not a time for celebration. Y'all are in trouble. And me and my brother were talking on the way back from the gym last night. We're talking about this concept of like remove your ornaments. And how it's like, when you get in trouble when you're little, and your mom's like, you know what, actually, take that off. You're not going here. Take this off. Give me that. Like, all your stuff is being revoked. Like, all the favor, the blessings, the gifts, the things that you asked for and you begged for and you wanted, give it here. Because you have lost your mind. Yeah, I'm going to take these from you. There's nothing to celebrate about. All that laughing, all that having a good time, it's over. Like, I don't know if you've ever got I know my mom is very, very much that type of energy. And so this is what Yah is doing with the children of Israel right now. He's basically telling them all that gold, the outward adornment, the wealth, the status, the visible aspects of blessing, the boasting of sorts, all that's going to stop right now. This is the moment, in this moment, all of those things are out of order. They had used the very ornaments to create golden calves. Remember, take off your earrings, take off your gold, give it to me, and I'll fashion a calf. Yeah, because clearly you don't know what to do. You can't do right with what I gave you, so take it off. This, what was meant to be a blessing, had turned into idolatry. So Yahuah says, take it off. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 32. Can a maid forget her ornaments, or a bride her attire? Yet my people have forgotten me days without number. That's this understanding right here. You don't forget about putting them nice clothes on, that jewelry. It makes me think about when I see like, so it's the point of inward and not constantly like looking at other people and whatever they believe. Us, when we go to these big Passover celebrations and people get all dolled up and they look so gorgeous, look like regal royalty. It would have been like that, and y'all was like, take all that off. This is a somber occasion. Everybody face to the ground, on your knees praying. That's literally the energy of like, take all that off. You boastful, you got your wedding dress on. We might not even get married no more. Like, I'm really about to just file for a bill of divorce. Honestly, take all of that off. You should be in sackcloths and mourning right now. Everybody should be fasting. It was kind of like that was the energy, the undertone of take off them ornaments. I don't want to hear no jingling. I don't want to hear none of it. The people held on to external adornment while forgetting the one who gave it to them. So ornament in Hebrew obviously means ornament, finery, decoration, or that which one is adorned with. So again, that's that beauty is vain and all these other things, right? But the one who fears Yah is to be praised. All these things that make you look beautiful and make you look like you worth something, Yah's like, I could care less. Strip it. So literally, Yah's literally saying, take off the celebration, the outward display, take off the pride, take off what you received from Egypt, all the singing, all the dancing, all the noise. It needs to stop. The gold I allowed you to receive, remove it. Your speech, your boasting, all that noise, I want you to silence it. Because outward expression means nothing when the heart is out of alignment. Exodus 33 shows us that Yahuah may still allow forward movement. Right? He said, I'm still going to send you to the land. I'm still going to remove the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hittites, all the ites, all the Canaanites. I'm still going to let you move forward even when our relationship is strained. You know what type of mercy and compassion that is? Like, I still want us to move forward with this promised land, with this removing the enemies out of your way, even though I am displeased with you right now. That is a covenant relationship. But forward movement does not mean full approval. I love you, so we gonna still do this thing. I love you, so we still gonna work on getting this thing together, but I'm not fully like happy with you. And that's okay. It doesn't mean full intimacy. After betrayal, there is mercy, but there are boundaries. There is grace, but there is distance. There is guidance, but not his full presence until we are truly repentant and realigned. I don't want to get anyone confused. I'm not saying that his presence isn't fully there, but like, we have work to do. We have to remove the offenses out of Yah's face so that we can fully be in his presence. There is the guidance so that you can get in the full presence. His guidance is come out of this covenant. His guidance is stop going over here. His guidance is stop operating in this. His guidance is telling you how to get deeper in be in full intimacy with him. All right, so this next part, as Moses went to the camp. Okay. 9, verse 9. So Exodus 33, verse 9. As Moses went into the tent, a pillar of cloud would come down and stay at the entrance. While Yahuah spoke to Moses, whenever the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, they all stood and worshipped, each at the entrance of their tent. And Yahuah would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. And Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide, Yahushua son of Nun, did not leave the tent. Moses said to Yahuah, you have been telling me, lead these people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. You have said, I know you by name and have found favor in me. If you are pleased with me, teach me your ways so I may know you and continue to find favor with you. Remember that this nation is your people. And Yahuah replied, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then Moses said to him, if your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me and your people from all the people on the face of the earth? And Yahuah said to Moses, I will do the very thing you have asked, because I am pleased with you and I know you by name. Then Moses said, now show me your glory. And Yahuah said, I will cause all of my goodness to pass in front of you, and I will proclaim my name, Yahuah, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no man may see me and live. This is the limitation of the flesh. Then Yahuah said, there is a place near me where you may stand on a rock when my glory passes by, and I will put you in the cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand until I pass by. Then I will remove my hand, and you will see my back, but my face you must not see. Okay, I decided to just go ahead and read all of it before we get into this next part. So we get to this part where Moses is like, I'm not going unless you say. And that's why I was like, Sister Anna was all up in my notes. Like when she was saying, like, you know, she was asking Yah to direct her steps on when to speak or how to minister to this young lady at her job. Moses is literally like refusing to go without, you know, Yah's constant confirmation. Like this kind of gives me like an elevated version of Moses going back and forth with Yah about him not wanting to go to Egypt. Like, I can't do it, I can't speak, I got to stutter, I got this, I got that. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna that, well, I'm gonna send Aaron with you. And then he got to a point where just like, just go, because I made the sun, the moon, the stars, I gave breath, I gave sight to the blind, etc. So this kind of gives me that, but like a lot more mature. So he's saying, Yah is confirming all these things. Like, he's like, I see you, I know you, like, you know, you found favor on my side. I've just been talking to you face to face like a friend talk to a friend, and you still don't trust that, like, I'm with you. So Moses at this point, he's not satisfied with the promise, with the land, with the blessing, or even the angel going before them. And I'm not saying he wasn't satisfied. He was just like, I think all those are great. I think all that is great, Yah. I appreciate that, you know, you're sending us to the land, the promise we have to bless, and even the fact that you're sending an angel before us. But like, I need more than just those tangible confirmations of the blessings of the covenant. He's asking to know him. That Yadai, y'all know I've been talking about stages of surrender. To be still and know Yada, that knowledge, that intimate knowing of Yah. He's like, he says, that I may know you. Teach me your way so that I may know you and continue to find favor with you. So Moses is already giving us the blueprint. He's like, you want to be intimate with Yah? You want to find favor with Yah? Learn his ways. He's like, he's saying, Yah, teach me your ways that I may know you. So how do we know Yah? To learn and to know his ways, to be taught by him is how we know him. Yahushua confirms this, and this is eternal life, that they may know that you are the true Elohim, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom you have sent. Eternal life is not just about salvation. It's not just about the blood on your life. It is about knowing him. It's about sitting with him, knowing him, being intimate with him. That's why Yahushua can say, depart from me, I never knew you. It's always been about the knowing, the intimacy, the yada, that intimate knowing, that knowledge that only comes by experiencing and walking with him. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in Yahuah with all your heart, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. That's what Moses is saying. He's like, I'm not going unless you tell me this. With all my heart, this acknowledging you, wanting to know your ways, lead me, because I'm not going if you're not there. I'd rather stay here in this wilderness with you for the rest of my life, knowing you're here with me, than go into a land and you're not there. And I think a lot of times, because we're such an American, capitalistic, Western mindset, a lot of us will literally go to places that look successful and Yah's not there, just because of the glitz, the glam, the prosperity, the status, the resources. All these things may be there, But Yah's not there. And that's how, that's how the enemy tried and failed to trick Yahushua. He brought him to the top of that mountain, and he showed the Messiah, look at all the kingdoms of the world, all this can be yours. Okay, yeah, it could be mine, but Yah's not there. I don't want nothing that Yah has not given me, and that Yah's not there. Even the thing that Yah gave them, you could take it from me if your presence is not there. I don't ever want to be bamboozled into comfort or thinking that Yah's with me because of external blessings, because of adornments, because of my ornaments. So that thing where Yah's like, take off your ornaments, our prayer should be, Yah, if there are ornaments in my life, take them from me if your presence is not here. Now that's a ooh to pray, like ooh, take away my comforts, but it's just like, we don't want anything to become a stumbling block. And unfortunately, your ornaments, your favor, your outward displays of favor and blessing can become idols, can become stumbling blocks for you being in delusion that Yah is with you and he's not. Okay, presence over the promise, right? A lot of times we hear teachings and sermons about the blessing and the promise, but like, I don't hear enough about his presence, about desiring to be in the presence of Yah, because you can be in the presence of Yah without seeing the promise. Abraham is a example of that. Abraham didn't get to see the fulfillment of his of his children's seed becoming as big as they were in Egypt. He still moved forward without without seeing or receiving the fullness of power. Yeah, he saw it in a vision. Yeah, allowed him to see it prophetically, but the tangibleness of actually accessing the tangible remnants of the promise that Yah had told him about, Abraham didn't get to experience that. Neither did Isaac. I think that's mentioned in one of Paul's letters, which says about like, because of their faith, and they didn't even get to see, the promise of it. And here you are, you didn't see Yahushua, you didn't see the promise of restoration, you just like all these things that and then he's like, more to those who have not seen and believed. So there's the aspect of saying you have to want his presence over the promise, because you may not see it in your lifetime. Are you okay with that? Will you still serve him? Will you still desire his presence? So Moses is saying, so Yah says to Moses, my presence will go with you. If your presence go not with me, carry us not from this place. That's Moses' response. Yah saying, my presence is going with you. And Moses is like, okay, but if it's not, I don't want to go. Moses refuses to move forward without Yah. We have to have that same, I'm not going nowhere unless Yah says to go. Yahushua teaches the same principle. Abide in me and I in you, for without me you can do nothing. This is the same thing. Without your presence we have nothing. Without abiding we can do nothing. Okay. This next part is not on the notes, but we're just gonna keep going. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Thoughts, comments, commentary. Okay. All right. So then gets to the part where Moses says, like, if you don't go with us, what is the thing that separates us from the other nations? So I'm just gonna read this. Go ahead, verbatim again, so that we know what separates, like, what is separating us from the rest of the nations. What verse is that? Oh, how will anyone know that you are pleased with me and your people unless you go with us? What will distinguish me and your people from all the other nations? And Yahuwah said, I will do the very things you asked me to. The Moses says, show me your glory. So I feel like the answer is in, I will cause my goodness to pass in front of you and proclaim my name in their presence and I have mercy. So his distinction of what separates us is, one, his presence. But within his presence, he says, I have favor on those I have favor, I have compassion on those who have compassion, and mercy on who I have mercy. But we know the prerequisites for his mercy and his compassion are also with the, I have mercy for those who keep my commandments to the, third and fourth generation, or thousands of generations. And so y'all saying you only have this mercy and this compassion to overcome your enemies because you're mine, because you have my name, because you serve Yahuah, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My presence, my glory is with you. And so I'm still like working through that on how to like, articulate that like in like the notes. But like his presence is what separates his people. But in order to know like the separation of his presence, like what does Yah's presence entail? We know that his presence, he doesn't dwell in sin. He doesn't dwell in dysfunction. So the fact that he separated his presence from the people because they were in dysfunction, but his presence was heavy on Moses because Moses walked in his ways and honored Yah. That's already like a distinction in itself for us to see a microcosm of those people who say they're his, but he removed his presence, versus Moses and Yahushua, son of Nun, who got to stay in the presence of Yah. And that residual glory that, oh dang it, that's next chapter. But we know about after Moses spends that time with Yah, that he glows, and the people are just like, oh my gosh. We talked about this before when we went over like the tabernacle, and like the glow, that shine that you have from being in the presence of Yah should be seen on you, should be smelled on you, like being in the incense room with the with the candles and the prayers that was going on in tabernacles. When you left that place, you also drug that aroma of sweet fragrance with you as evidence that you have been in the presence of Yah. That's kind of what I'm visualizing in that distinction of like the glory was resting on Moses. Yah's presence was so fully engulfed in and on Moses that like there was a distinction in how he operated, and also like how Moses revered and honored the things that came out of Yah's mouth, his commandments, his decrees, his holiness. Moses separated himself unto that holiness. Okay. So more than just the glory, Moses literally demands it in a sense. And we know that Moses and Yah have a very intimate relationship. So when I say demand, it's not like in a disrespectful way, but it's like Moses is asking all these questions. It's back and forth with the Most High Yah. He's saying like, well, how will I know? And Yah's like, I'm going to give you rest. And he's like, your favorite, I know your name. You're known by me. I know you. You know me. Like, why are you still needing another confirmation? But Moses is crying for something deeper, where sometimes we just get so comfortable with just like the promise. I don't even want to say the bare minimum of the promise, because it's not bare minimum, but just like Moses is just like, I don't care about none of that. I just want to be where you at. Like there's a cry for a deeper intimacy that I feel like sometimes we forget because of the cares of the world. There's a lack of chasing his glory. And we see Moses in this literal begging, crying out for his glory state, where it's just like, I want to show me your glory. I need to see the glory. I want the glory. And it wasn't for vain reasons either. A lot of times we want the glory so we can, again, you're trying to use Yah's glory to ornament yourself. Moses is like, I want your glory to confirm that I'm going where you're telling me to go, so I can conquer the things you tell. I want your glory for you, so that people can see you on me, not anything for me. There's a different type of cry for his glory when it's literally for his glory. And I know I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over again, but we live in such a world where people are so selfish at heart that they only want things from Yah to adorn themselves. And there's a lack of seeking his kingdom, glorifying his name, teaching and preaching his good news, calling the people to repentance. That in itself, like, I don't know. There's just a glory that Yah will give you, the shine that comes with doing his will and operating the way he's called you to operate. And Moses is fully surrendered, fully in a posture of sacrifice, that he's literally offered himself up multiple times for the sins of the people. And like, That's that glory that Yahushua had on him when he was tabernacling with Moses and Elijah. That shine, that glow, when he literally he went through that phase of like the transition where he literally became like full spirit man in the sight of Peter, James, and John, the three closest disciples. My goodness, but it was just like Yahushua was operating in that glory, which is why he could glow like that, why he shined like that on that mountain up there like that, in the same type of glory that Moses is kind of receiving temporarily in the presence of Yah. Latanya said, we get comfortable with the tangible, but Moses wanted his spirit. Yes. That's it right there. And he could only have it for a while. He couldn't even have the fullness of it because he would have died in his presence. No man can see my face and live. That is the limit of our flesh, right? So we have to operate in the spirit and not in the flesh. When we get so comfortable, we get so caught up on the tangible, we stop ourselves from being able to want his full spirit, because we are light. Yeah. We're supposed to operate in his light, but if we start putting blockers up to resist or not fully receive of him, then we can't have that cry for his glory like Moses, or have that cry for his glory in his confirmation like Yahushua, like praying on that mountain, praying, sweating blood and crying blood like this, understanding like I have to literally say goodbye to this flesh to really reach the level of intimacy of wanting the fullness of Yah's spirit. Okay. So we know that Yah's glory, like we said, is his character, his goodness, his mercy. Literally, mercy on who I have mercy, compassion on who I have compassion. Yah's glory is a mixture of also so much of his character. We talked about this when we were going over the 10 Commandments about don't take his name in vain, and why that is such a serious commandment to really abide by, because taking his name in vain is not just saying like, oh my God, it's not that. It's more so you've done defilement to the reputation of Yah's holiness. You operating in unholiness while claiming that you're his child, that's taking his name in vain. And so we taint or we pervert something that's supposed to be glorious because we start to operate outside of what he has called holy and righteous, and what something that is worthy of his glory resting there. Let me see. I think that's about it I have for tonight. Let me see. Talk about the limits of the flesh. Yeah, the limitation. Flesh cannot fully perceive or withstand spiritual fullness. There's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end of the natural mind is limited and can lead to destruction without Yahuah. Yeah, I think that's it. So like some of the questions I kind of asked in the midst of Bible study was like, are you satisfied with blessings without his presence? Are you satisfied with movement without intimacy? Or are you satisfied with religion without truly knowing him? And so like those are kind of those questions that kind of came out through our Bible study tonight. And literally, like I said earlier, but this is kind of recurring, this, we don't want to hear, depart from me, I never knew you. You know, like this knowing is so important. He's like, I never knew you who operate in lawlessness. And so Yahushua even attaches us knowing him to walking, living lawfully, legally, faithfully. Like, all of these things are how we know him, because we operate in what he says is good, righteous, and holy. We are taught by him. You can't be taught from somebody you don't know. When you have a teacher, anybody who's taken any kind of class, those who form relationships, I know specifically like in college, if you form a relationship with your professor and you maybe like are on the verge of, or maybe you made a mistake, or maybe 1 or 2 points away from a B or an A or a C and a D, If you fostered a real relationship with that professor, they will work with you and give you extra, or say, hey, do this and this will add to this. Like, there's an intimate relationship because you fostered something with the one that you are learning from, with your teacher. And that is the understanding of the knowing that we have with Yahushua. Because he's our teacher, if we slip up, he covers us. If we make a mistake in our trying, in our doing, we are covered. That is the freedom that we have in Christ. It's not a freedom to live lawlessly. It is the freedom of, I am doing my best to implement the way of life that my teacher, my good shepherd, has instilled and instructed in me. And when I make a mistake, I have a good teacher that he's going to cover me because I got some extra credit with him. That blood is the extra credit. That blood is the covering, the saving grace. It's not a license to sin. If you say, depart from me, I never knew you, because you was never in class. You never sat in front of me. You never learned from me. You didn't even want to do what I asked you to do. I don't know you. You try to go for office hours during finals, and the teacher ain't never seen you. You have never been to office hours. You have never talked to your professor when you had questions about X, Y, and Z. You are not going to get that favor. You did not even spend your whole semester trying to foster a relationship with your professor. But now, when it's crunch time and you're about to fail out of the class and you're looking for extra credit or for some help, they're not going to see you because they know what you're about. Oh, you just want evidence that you passed. You just want a grade. You just want a well done, but you didn't do well. That is an analogy, a picture of what it means to know him. If he's your good teacher, if he's your shepherd, if he's the one that's teaching you, but you never show up to class, you never sit at his feet, you never learn from him, you never implement the curriculum, the rubric, you ignored all of that, and now crunch time comes and you need to pass, he gonna be like, I don't know you. Where you been this whole time? That space, that time of judgment where you had all that breath in your lungs and I gave you time and opportunity, like, I've been here. I gave you the rubric. I gave you the syllabus. You already knew what was up. I just wanted to give like a practical example of like what this looks like for us practically, so we can kind of remove ourselves from this like religious bypassing of like, oh, he paid it all. Like, yeah, but you still got to go to class. You still got to go to class. Yes, tuition's paid, everything's covered, but you still got to go to class. Thoughts, comments, commentary? All right, well, I have nothing else to say. Does anybody have any closing remarks before I end the recording?
I just think that this is so good. And as far as like next steps for me personally, it's definitely encouragement for me to, put my pride down to make sure that I can be the buffer for my family. If it weren't for, as you stated, if it wasn't for Moses, everyone would have just died. Like it just would have been over. And it's like, what if it's on us? Like we just kind of have to bear that cross. Like, what if it's just us who has to pursue the holiness, who has to do like the hard thing or the different thing, so that's definitely some encouragement there. Um, and then also, it's also encouragement to do more when it comes to pursuing a relationship with the Father. Like whatever we're doing, we all probably can do more. We all have more time in our day than we think. And so it doesn't matter, if I'm newly postpartum, it doesn't matter whatever your personal situation may be, we all can probably do a little bit more to be a little bit closer with the Father. And so thank you, because that's definitely encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people it ministers to me first before I even come on here, because I was doing these notes and I was just like, oh, I feel so convicted. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not crying out for his glory. Like, ooh, I need to be asking up, like, yeah, show me your glory, give me your glory. And it's just like, you want my glory, but are you spending the time, And it's just like, yeah, check me. Check me real good. Anybody else? If not, let me see what next week looks like. So, depending if I'm out of town or not, um, we'll decide if we have a Bible study. or a fellowship call, like a real one this time. I was so tired last week, y'all. I woke up and it was like 9 o'clock at night. I almost cried because I missed her. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, and then Latanya told me so many people had got on the line. So, but I was just like, I have to apologize to my sisters. I didn't realize how tired my body was. Um, but yeah, so next week, if I'm not in town, like again, I'll update you guys in the Instagram chat where we do like updates on like when we're doing Bible study and where I post like notes in the YouTube replays. So but I'll let y'all know like how the week pans out and if I'm out of town that Friday. So but yeah, but I probably will still get on. Even if I don't get on Friday, I might get on earlier in the week and just record something about Passover for those who if you desire a conversation about Passover, if you're nervous about Passover, to help ease your nervousness. You should not be nervous. So, but if if you desire a conversation like that, y'all just reach out to me. Y'all can reach out to me individually. I will check my Instagram periodically, but I've really just been like pulling back off Instagram for a while. I don't know when I'm gonna be back, but I'll check the chat or I'll check my message to see if anyone wants to talk to me just personally, just to like chat about like Passover or anything. If we don't get a chance to record a Passover conversation, but I will also post our Passover conversation from last year, which was really good. Because I think it is still, I mean, it's relevant every year. I'm gonna say the same thing, like don't stress, don't listen to what everybody is telling you on how to do Passover. It's really simple. All you need is your lamb, your bitter herbs, your unleavened bread, and your wine. Like that's 4 things that Yah requires. That's it, right? And if you're vegan, you make your whatever substitute you have for that. But really, your bread, your unleavened bread, your wine and bitter herbs, and your lamb. That's 4 things. So you don't have to go all out and make it like this is not Thanksgiving. If that's how you want to do, you got a big family, cool, you do that. But if it's intimate, if it is you and the Father and maybe one other person, even if it's you by yourself, this is a covenant meal. This is you sitting down with your groom, and you are the bride because you're part of Israel, and you're sitting down and you're having this covenant meal when Yahushua said, do Passover in remembrance of me. And that's what you're doing. Read a couple Bible verses that talk about Passover. Read what Yahushua said about Passover, and remember that he is the lamb, he is the blood on the doorpost of your life. And it's beautiful. For me, I always watch Prince of Egypt afterwards. But yeah, just go with what Yah says, and it won't be a stressor, it won't be a strain, I promise you. But if you do have any questions, you have sisters available who probably don't mind telling you about how their previous Passovers have been. So with that being said, I'm gonna cut the camera.